I think so. Yeah, maybe he might have wrote it. And I have some good news for Stray Cats fans. They're getting back together.
And you would know because he's from Massapequa, your hometown.
Ryan Setzer is from Massapequa, a few years older. He was also in the band.
Great.
Right? And he wore very unique hair and big heels on his shoes.
Sure. Were you devastated when they broke up?
Right? I still remember the day.
I bet.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, coming up in about 15 minutes, remember that story where the 3 Americans sprang into action on that terror train between Paris and Amsterdam?
Paris.
It is now a Clint Eastwood movie. And you know how they always go, well, when they make a movie of your life, who's going to play you? Clint Eastwood is actually having the heroes play themselves. They will be here this hour.
I think that's great because people love reality shows. So this is like a reality show movie, a reality movie.
Right. And I'll tell you, when they were on our couch after the event, they looked so natural. And I think that's the same thing they bring to the scene. If you can't play, I remember Ray Mancini was disappointed when he didn't get the role to play himself in his own movie. So that's these 3 own.
And that's a clip from the movie, the 1517 to Paris. Indeed.
All right, we have some big news to tell you about, Brian.
All right, you're not going to believe this. Let's get right to it. A bombshell exclusive. Fox News has obtained, and it was embargoed until an hour and 2 minutes ago, brand new anti-Trump text messages between the high-ranking FBI lovers Peter Strzok and Lisa Page.
Those new messages now raising even more questions about what the FBI and former President Obama knew about the Clinton investigation and when.
Griff Jenkins is live down in Washington, breaking it all down for you. Griff, good morning.
Good morning. We're taking a look at this, and it is raising a lot of questions, and it's shocking. Let's go right to it. This one, on September 2nd, 2016, Page writes Strzok about preparing talking points for FBI Director James Comey, saying POTUS wants to know everything we're doing. Now, by POTUS, they're referring to Barack Obama. Investigators telling Fox News this now raises questions about President Obama's personal involvement in the Clinton email investigation. In another exchange, the text, which are being released by Senator Ron Johnson in the Homeland Security Committee, shed some light on the timing of the discovery of hundreds of thousands of emails found on Anthony Weiner's laptop. On September 28th, 2016, Strzok writes, got called up to Andy's earlier. Hundreds of thousands of emails turned over by Weiner's attorney to Southern District of New York includes a ton of material from spouse Huma Abedin, sending team up tomorrow to review. This will never end. Now, this raises questions of timing because it wasn't until a full month later, on October 28th, that FBI Director Comey informs Congress that he is reopening the Clinton investigation, begging the question of why it took so long, a full month, for Comey's investigative team to inform him of the discovery. Then more disdain on Election Day. Page writes, OMG, this is effing terrifying. Strzok replies, OMG, I am so depressed. A few days later, Page writes, God, being here makes me angry. Lots of highfalutin national security talk. Meanwhile, we have our task ahead of us. Not sure what that means, and it's certainly unclear what her last message meant, written on June 23rd. Please don't ever text me again. So a lot unfolding. We're looking at all the guys. Finally, Strzok ridicules Virginia voters in another one against Andy McCabe's wife, Jill, who failed to run for the state Senate. Strzok calling them ignorant hillbillies, those Virginia voters that voted against her.
All right. A lot to unpack there. All right, Griff, thank you very much.
Thanks,
the very first text message is going to have everybody's antenna up, where Griff just showed us that on September the 2nd, 2016, in preparing James Comey, they prepared some talking points, and it simply says, POTUS wants to know everything we're doing, which suggests that you're talking about, at the time, the President of the United States was Barack Obama. It appears there's involvement. Do they have an explanation why it wasn't him? Don't know.
There was communication, I believe, between Hillary Clinton and President Obama through her private email, which made, which I know Andy McCarthy wrote about, that said, wait a second, President Obama now knows he has a private email. They were exchanging emails back and forth in September.
He was using a different name?
Right. He was using a different name, which is a story in itself that's been unexplored.
Right, but
listen, by the way, there's 5 more months. There is 5 months of text messages that we've been assured that the Inspector General who's investigating this is looking at. So this is sensational, this is important, but this is not it.
No, and keep in mind, these emails were released to Fox News and other news outlets by Senator Ron Johnson from the Senate Homeland Security committee, and he's put out this paper, the Clinton email scandal and the FBI investigation into it. Keep in mind, while all this Russia stuff and everything, the FISA stuff is all going on, there is a separate investigation on how the FBI handled the Clinton email scandal. We call it a scandal. And that's why you've got this inspector general who is expected to release his report. Ultimately, we believe that that's why Andy McCabe is no longer at the FBI, because he did something wrong. And that's why the Lovebirds were removed from the case, because the inspector general found that they were doing something wrong. It appears there was animus at the FBI.
Does it feel like this is going on and on and on? Like, when is this investigation? No, but all this information is new. But I feel like we're learning new information every single day. Why can't they do this investigation quickly, though? This is a year after the election.
There is so many buried bodies, and there's so many secrets that everyone kept from us, which, because President Trump is president, people are getting to the bottom of it. If Hillary Clinton was president, there's no way we would have made this progress, in my humble estimation. A couple of things. Here's what Andy McCabe did wrong that we know of. His wife is a Democrat, taking money from Terry McAuliffe's super PAC, a Democrat who's tight with the Clintons. He should have recused himself from this investigation. That's pretty clear.
But he was told by the FBI Office of Ethics it was okay for him to sit. He eventually did recuse himself just about a week before the election.
The other thing he did is either he told James Comey, I got these Anthony Weiner laptops from the New York office. On this laptop, I got these emails that might have some top secret information on it from Huma Abedin via Hillary Clinton. Or he told James Comey, and they did nothing for 3 weeks. He either sat on it or told him, James Comey, and together they sat on it for 3 weeks to the end of October.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find out more of that. The Republicans wanted to find out why the president's campaign was being spied upon, if it was done legally. They wanted to have these people at the FBI, people at DOJ, people within Fusion GPS. They wanted all, and Clinton Foundation, State Department, they wanted them all investigated to find out. And we're finding out a lot of information through these text messages. Well, now the Democrats are saying, all right, we have some problems with that memo. It's now in the hands of the president. He has 5 days to release it. And we're learning now, the White House said that it is likely going to be returned back to the committee this week to be released.
Because it does appear that while the Republicans presented that memo to figure out whether or not the FISA warrant was obtained, not honestly, that was on Friday. And the Republicans made it as clean as possible. However, this 10-page rebuttal, it sounds like, has got a lot of secrets in it. And as we heard from the Chief of Staff, John Kelly, last night at the Capitol building, it sounds like it's going to be a little harder to clean that one up. So that could cause some problems. Listen.
We will brief the president on it, and he'll have a decision to make as to what he wants to do with it. Drop dead date. They need to get back to me by close of business Thursday. This is a different memo than the first one. It's lengthier and not leaning towards it. It'll be done in a responsible way. But again, where the first one was very clean relative to sources and methods, my initial cut is this one is a lot less clean. But at the end of it all, it'll be guys like Rod Rosenstein, Chris Wray from FBI, certainly the national security attorneys at the White House, giving the president a recommendation.
Yeah, so some people say, well, they put it through things, almost dare the president to redact it, so you could say the president is trying to hide something or has a double standard. The other thing to keep in mind, too, is on the Senate side, Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Chuck Grassley have a huge problem with where the FISA court green-lighted these applications, and they have a criminal referral of Christopher Steele because he feels as though they did not tell the FBI the truth and did not to tell them the truth. So don't just focus on Devin Nunes on the right. In the Senate side, they have a huge problem.
Republicans are saying that the Democrats put a bunch of sensitive information into their rebuttal, into their memo, so that the president goes through and has to redact everything. FBI has to redact everything, and then they can say, oh, the president just took out what didn't make him look good.
Just remember, there were no scandals during the Obama administration.
Right.
How many times have we heard that?
Until they left.
All right, 7-Eleven in New York City. Time for news. Jillian.
Hey, good morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Let's get you caught up on some of your news, starting with this story. The Justice Department taking aim at the previously deported illegal immigrant accused of killing an NFL player in a drunk driving crash. 37-year-old Manuel Oriego Zavala facing federal immigration charges. That crash killed Indianapolis Colts linebacker Edwin Jackson and another man, his Uber driver. Indiana Congressman Todd Rokita says this is why we need immigration reform.
If we had the wall, which is a tool for enforcing our immigration law, something that every other country on the face of this earth does, this would not have happened. 2 people would still be alive. That's the bottom line. That's what makes this, Steve, not a drunk driving case, but an immigration case.
Zavala is due in court today. A wannabe terrorist college student who planned on killing Americans is waking up behind bars. Munther Sala sentenced to 18 years in prison after pleading guilty to conspiring with ISIS. Authorities say Sala was making bombs to attack tourist hotspots in New York City, including the Statue of Liberty. We could soon honor our military with a parade marching through Washington. U.S. defense officials say they are in the preliminary stages of planning the celebration for sometime this year at the request of the president. President Trump previously considered the idea after attending France's Bastille Day parade as the guest of honor last July. Let's look at your headlines, guys. I will send it back to you.
There are a lot of people at the Pentagon who would love to show off all the equipment.
Right.
And the personnel.
I don't know. It seems like a waste of money. 12 minutes now after the hour. We were just talking about the FISA abuse memo. It turns out investigators may have violated their own rules. Congressman Louis Gohmert wants those court transcripts released. He's here next.
Plus, the real-life American heroes who stopped a terror attack on a train are now Hollywood stars. Spencer Stone, Alex Skarlatos, and Anthony Sadler from the new Clint Eastwood movie 1517 to Paris are here live.
And they took the train.
Well, this morning we've got all sorts of new text messages between the FBI lovebirds, and that one right there could be very troubling. Let's deal in Louis Gohmert. He's a Republican from Texas, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Louis, look at this. Lisa Page said to her boyfriend at the FBI, POTUS wants to know everything we're doing. Yep. What does that mean to you?
Well, you know, it means the president wants to know what they're doing to try to stop Trump, because that's clearly, from all the other text messages, that's what they were working on, that's what they cared about. And so, you know, we need to find out. We can't be like the FISA court. We've got to actually have the facts. We need to get to the bottom of this and find out what the president knew and when he knew it.
But to suggest, Louis, that you've got these 2 agents who are, they've got this text banner going back and forth, but to suggest that the president of the United States was involved in an active investigation into whether or not Hillary Clinton's email broke all the rules, that is extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. And clearly the FBI covered for Hillary Clinton. The DOJ covered for Hillary Clinton. And we have got to get the facts out. And, 43 years ago, Steve, Frank Church, Senator Frank Church, Democrat, chaired hearings to find out if the NSA, the DOJ, were spying on Americans, were surveilling, listening to their conversations. And then what do? Decades later, we have this FISA court that allows warrantless surveillance, they provide warrants to surveil without having to go public with any information. And as far as I can find, Steve, this is the first time the FISA court has ever had any pursuit of their transcripts or what was being said.
And Louis, you want the transcripts released to find out what the FBI told the FISA court to get that application so they could spy on Carter Page and all the Trump people.
Yeah, one of 2 things. Either the judge was duped with false information, with the lies, into signing a warrant, or the judge is just so worthless it was part of all this and didn't care if he didn't have the facts. But as a former judge, I can tell you, and I was talking to John Carter, a former district judge, if somebody lied to us in court, and especially a lawyer, we would be after their license to practice law. We would, and I found out that if you put one lawyer in jail one time for contempt, then the lawyers work really well with you after that, and they're very honest and straightforward.
But Louis,
that hadn't happened.
But Louis, you know for a fact, though, that if you've got the FBI, if you're the judge, let's imagine you're the judge, and you got a career FBI agent in front of you, and they're presenting all these facts, you figure that you know, they're the facts. You don't know about the political animus that may have been there where they were trying to, you know, pull the wool over that guy's eyes.
That's right. And either the judge said, wait, you guys are have an asterisk down here. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Either he did that or just accepted it. But either way, the judge should be livid in the fact that these guys didn't go to jail for contempt. And there are a couple of kinds of contempt. You can have a contempt where judge has to have a hearing, sort out the facts.
Okay.
But if a fraud is presented to the court and the court's manipulated, you don't have to have a hearing. You can just order them in contempt for 6 months in jail. And these people should be in jail for what they did.
Well, it would be great if we could see the transcripts.
Well,
I know
that's
you're
what
after that.
And Bob Goodlatte wants the truth, and I think we're going to get it one way or another.
America wants to know what really happened. Louis, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thanks for being so attentive. This is so important.
There's a lot going on. Thank you, sir. Meanwhile, the real-life American heroes who stopped a train attack, playing themselves in the new Clint Eastwood movie, they are here live next. More.
Three young American friends on a trip through Europe, they thwarted a terror attack on a train that was headed to Paris.
And we talked to them right after. Now those real-life heroes are starring themselves as themselves on the big screen.
I'm going to watch that movie. Here now are the stars of the new movie, The 1517 to Paris, and real-life heroes. Screen left, Anthony Sandler, former Oregon National Guardsman, Alex Garlatos, and former U.S. Air Force Airman First Class Spencer Stone. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Not only do you play yourselves, but Clint Eastwood wanted to make it so realistic. He had the guy who got shot play himself, didn't he, Spencer?
Yeah, him, his wife, the Britishman, a whole lot of other people. Pretty much everyone except for the terrorists. So.
Spencer, do you remember the time when Clint Eastwood walked up to you and said, I want you guys to play yourselves in this? Because you have no acting background, right?
You know, it's something we never even considered as a possibility. He actually called us down to his office in Burbank, and we were just kind of hanging out like this on the couch, and he just randomly said, hey, what do you guys think of reenacting things for us? And at first we were like, sure, for the actors, you know, so we get everything right on camera for the fight sequence, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, oh, no. And then he reiterated himself, but very vaguely again. And then we just said, Mr. Eastwood, are you asking us to play ourselves? And he's like, yeah. Why not?
Why not? I heard Hollywood gave him a hard time at first. They were like, no. We need real actors. And then I asked you in the green room, how did that happen? What was your response?
Yeah, understandably so. But what Clint Eastwood wants, he gets. So basically, for us, it was good because we needed somebody of that cachet to be able to do something like this. So credit to him.
Yeah, but not only were you there, you helped write the script, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a hand in it from the very beginning, and so when he asked us to play ourselves, it was honestly just fantastic because we had even more control over our own story. So if nothing else, the movie's very accurate.
So Spencer, bring us through, for those who didn't remember it for a few years back, bring us through what happened that day.
Yeah, so we were all, we're all childhood friends, and we were traveling through Europe on a big vacation, and we're heading from Amsterdam to Paris, and a terrorist by the name of Ayoub El-Kazani gets on the train. He's got an AK-47, nearly 300 rounds of ammunition, a 9mm pistol, box cutter, and he comes out of the bathroom ready to go. He comes in contact with two passengers, Mark McGallion and another one, Damien. They get into a scuffle. Mark takes the AK from him, pulls out the pistol, shoots Mark in the back, and then a train employee sprints down the aisle between us, and that's what alerts us. And the first thing we see looking down the aisle is him picking up the AK-47, loading around into it, and then we rushed him, tackled him, and laid the smackdown on him.
Anthony, what was that like for you? Because, we saw the clip, and your instinct is to run. You guys were running toward the terrorists. What was that like? What was going through your mind?
Visually, you see it, so you're registering what's happening, but in your mind, mentally, you're trying to tell yourself this can't be real. And we didn't have any seconds to really react. It was really just go now or it was too late. And there wasn't anywhere to hide. Seats wasn't really a good hiding spot. So once Spencer went, Alec went, then we're all in at this point.
Alex, you had to rush towards him, but the AK-47 jammed. Or else it could have been different, right?
Well, it didn't actually jam. It was a misfire. So the gun actually functioned fine. It was just the ammunition that didn't ignite.
So what do you mean he didn't? I'm not a gun guy. So what do you mean by
He pulled the trigger.
Right.
Everything functioned with the gun. The round just didn't go off just because he was using old, corroded ammunition.
It was a bad primer in the bullet.
Yeah, exactly. So Spencer, as we haven't seen the movie yet because it comes out shortly, but you know, I know you've talked a lot about what happened that day, but then to actually see what happened to the three of you in a movie, what's that like?
It's really surreal. I mean, just us watching it is.
Does it look exactly like it happened?
Yeah, that's the credit to Mr. Eastwood. We were talking earlier. He fully, you know, made us like true partners in the making of the film. If there's one thing about this movie, it's accurate. And
wow, that is so cool. In fact, here's another clip of what we can expect when it rolls out this week.
You guys just want to skip Paris? Or at least delay it a little bit.
If we weren't meant to be on the train tomorrow, something would physically stop us. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by a greater force.
You should have gone to Barcelona.
Yeah.
We almost made it. We almost made it.
But how many lives were saved because you didn't?
Hundreds, and that's a memory we'll be grateful for the rest of our lives. We're extremely proud of that.
What was it like? How did you learn to act?
Well, we really
Clint Eastwood.
didn't, to be honest. I mean,
Give me an example. What happened?
He just told us to be ourselves, and I mean, luckily, since it's all three of us playing ourselves, we pretty much just had to relax, have some fun.
Would he say just have a conversation, or was there a script?
I mean, there was a script, but it was mostly like guidelines. We were able to ad-lib a lot, and if there was something that sounded like something we wouldn't actually say, we would just change it. And
he likes things to be organic, so he always told us to like just listen to what the other actor is saying to you and just respond naturally within your character
Do
type.
any of you want to be actors now?
Most
we all do.
Really?
Yeah, we all got agents and managers now.
Well, you're going to have to go stop another terror strike.
Yeah. Is that what we got to do to get a role? Man.
Unfortunately, we're going to need heroes like you guys in the future because the threat is not going away. Guys, I cannot wait to see it. I saw the promos a couple of months ago, and I'm watching and I'm saying, they look exactly like the real guys. How did they cast it? I never thought it was going to be the real guys.
People are still just starting to pick up on it, too.
Right. I'm the slowest, so you got me.
It comes out this Friday worldwide. Congratulations, and thank you for being heroes.
All right. And you got to invite us to at least one of the parties. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. That's what they always say, but nothing ever shows up.
All right, guys, thank you. Meanwhile, the stock market rebounded yesterday, closing up more than 500 points after another crazy day. But Stuart Varney says the wild ride not over yet. He's going to tell us next what to expect. Hey, Stuart.
And it's a homecoming. We love these. That little boy's never going to forget it. How an entire school pulled off that patriotic parade for his American hero father.
We can do anything. We could be heroes. We could be world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
So we're watching the market yesterday. 1 minute we're down 200 points, then we're up 300 points, then I'm up 400 points. I'm thinking to myself, this got to be a graphic problem. No, there isn't. We have a stock market challenge. Stuart Varney, host of Varney & Company on the Fox Business Network. Stu, were you having the same challenge during your show yesterday?
Yes, it was an up and down day in the extreme, and we had a hard time keeping up with it. That's what's going on.
But
now,
in the end,
we were up 567 points. That's a very nice rebound. Now, if you'd have asked me a half hour ago, how's the market going to open up this morning, I would say it would be down very, very sharply, like 200-300 points. Ask me now, I've got a different answer.
Why?
It's going to be down 50, 60, 70 points. That's because you've got this extraordinary up and down. It's not over. It continues today. It might calm down a little, but that's what you got, up and down.
How do you explain these Dramamine moments, though? Because there's nothing going on in the economy that would suggest that it's time to bail, and instead people have.
This is annoying a lot of people. It's called program trading, okay?
The machines.
Like we said yesterday, algorithmic panic. That's what you see. Here's what happens. The program kicks in at the start of trading or whatever, and the stock goes down. The program kicks in. They buy the stock at the lower price. The stock goes up because people are buying. It goes up. The program kicks in. They sell the thing, and down it goes again. The program guys make the money. The little guy is squeezed out.
Right. So a couple of days ago, when it went down for a little while to 1,600, the machines bought, and those people who bought at the bottom and then sold when it got up 500 points later, made a lot of dough.
But I would not advise the ordinary average person to try to time the market by the second or by the minute. I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. The little guy really should take a hands-off approach and wait for things to settle down. That's my opinion.
They say the age of free money is over when they were trying to use the stimulus globally, and where the Asian, the European, and the American markets are tightening up now, and we're beginning to realize that it's going to affect corporations and us, everyday people. Is that what's happening?
We've been through a 10-year period where the central banks of the world, the great central banks, have printed money to get interest rates down to
Quantitative
zero.
easing?
Oh, don't. On my program, we have a buzzer. You use that expression, you're buzzed out of here.
I have a huge vocabulary, and sometimes it works against me.
Cheap money flooding the world, okay? Trillions and trillions of dollars. That era is over. The central banks have largely said we're not going to do that anymore. That means interest rates are going up. That's traditionally bad for the stock market. That's what you're seeing.
I love that you buzzed Brian.
Oh, well, look, this kind of jargon, QE3, that's a terrible barrier to set up between you and your audience. And if you do that on my show, you get the buzzer. You're out.
You're like a secret door. You're out, Brian.
So, Stuart, it looks as if the House has come up with some stopgap way to fund the government for a while now. It goes to the Senate. Yesterday, the president was talking a little bit about how he is at loggerheads with some of the Democrats and suggested that maybe, and I know last time you said go ahead and shut down the government, and they did, although you said for the wrong reasons. Here's the president talking about maybe we need a shutdown over DACA. Listen.
I would shut it down over this issue. I can't speak for everybody at the table, but I will tell you, I would shut it down over this issue. If we don't straighten out our border, we don't have a country. Without borders, we don't have a country. So would I shut it down over this issue? Yes. I can't speak for our great representatives here, but I have a feeling they may agree with me. Okay?
Let me pick another fight with Brian. Yes, shut it down. Immigration is the most important issue facing the nation. We're at a point where we could get a deal. President Trump should push for it and fix it now.
Well, no, put it this way. Shutting it down is a failure, and that's giving them an out. An out is a failure. I can't do my job, and that means working with other people. But what they are done, the House passed a resolution that adds, I think, $300 billion over the next 2 years to defense. It goes to the Senate. The Senator Schumer says we're closer than ever before. This is an opportunity to work something out. But what bothers you is they're busting the spending caps to do it, and yet we're still in debt.
What bothers me is that the immigration debate is separate from this particular debate about funding the government. I'm saying if you can't get a separate deal on immigration and fix it by March, then shut it down.
And the president is reminding the Democrat by saying, yeah, let's have a shutdown. Last time there was a shutdown, they wound up with a bloody nose.
They did indeed. And did the sky fall, Brian? Well, when the government shut down for 3 days, what happened? Did we all...
But you understand, Stuart, it's a failure. So you're hoping for failure. You're hoping for lawmakers not to do their job.
I'm hoping for success, that we fix the major problem facing our country, which is uncontrolled immigration and what to do with the 10 or 11 million people who are here illegally.
And I just wish a couple of years ago we cut back on the number of Brits that we allowed become citizens. And I think everything would have been a lot better.
I got the lottery visa.
You did.
I didn't. Okay, let's be clear.
Now bring in all your relatives.
That's right. All right, Stuart, take your Dramamine. We'll be watching you as the market goes up and down between 9 and noon today over on Fox Business.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who's behind Stuart. She has some headlines for us.
And some of us are very happy that you're here, by the way, Stuart.
Just not all of us.
Not all of us. Good morning to you. Let's start with this story right now, a serious one we've been following for weeks. The nationwide flu epidemic taking the life of a second-grade teacher. 38-year-old Heather Holland passing away from flu complications just days after being diagnosed. She originally passed on taking medication because she thought it was too expensive. Holland leaving behind a husband and 2 young kids. Schools in at least 21 states have closed for flu outbreaks this season. It's been a bad few days for Patriot star Rob Gronkowski. For the first time, we're hearing his 911 call after returning from the Super Bowl to his house that was robbed.
This is Rob Gronkowski calling, and while I was gone, my whole house got robbed while on the Super Bowl trip, and I just got back.
Not sure I would have been that calm making that call. Police documents show the crooks broke a window to get inside the Massachusetts home. Valuables and other items swiped from common areas and from his housemates' bedrooms. Gronk's room was locked. At this point, it's unclear if police have any suspects. A true patriotic moment at a Texas preschool. A soldier dad surprising his young son as his classmates sing "Proud to be an American," waving American flags. Oh, that's Staff Sergeant Garrett Myron, who had been serving overseas in Qatar since June. Let's look at your headlines, guys. I'll send it back to you.
Those men and women sacrifice, they go for so long.
I know.
I mean, I can't wait to just hug my daughter when I go home from work. I can't imagine being away from her for that long.
But here's the thing that I always hear. It gives you such an appreciation for each other when you're serving somewhere else.
All right, Jillian, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jillian. Still ahead, a chilling new study says 300 Americans have tried joining ISIS, and 12 of them are back here at home. Who